Welcome, everybody, to Connecting the Universe. I'm author and researcher Mike Ricksecker, back at you with another interactive class out of the secret library of the Connected Universe. We're going to be asking the question this evening, can you be your own Stargate? And really, imagine if you could be your own Stargate and travel across the cosmos or even back in time. We're going to look at how that might be possible. We've talked a lot about portals and Stargates quite often here on this podcast, on this live stream, within this interactive class. We're going to get to all that here in just a moment. I need to throw down this real quick. Right from the get, Tom McNicholas, Super Chat Superstar, sent this through my portal, $10 Super Chat. So thank you very much, Tom McNicholas, for the $10 Super Chat there. That's out there on the YouTube channel. We do broadcast this live every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. ConnectedUniversePortal.com. There's the public side of the Mike Ricksecker YouTube channel, but then we have the after show following that in the Connected Universe Portal. You can watch the whole thing there, of course, in the Connected Universe Portal all at once. And join us. We have some nice treats for the after show tonight. Again, ConnectedUniversePortal.com. We've got a bunch of material out there. It's a community where like-minded people come together. Got monthly Q&A videos. We've got live video sessions, Mike's Morning Mug. We've got all of those wonderful videos and research from ancient Egypt, Ireland, the American Southwest, so much more. So others in the house, of course, Jen down there is in the house. Greetings from the treadmill, out on the treadmill. We got Scarlett with us. There is Sarah Youssef, wonderful. Jason Thompson, hey. And hello, everyone from Atlanta. Wonderful. Jen says she likes the lighting. Yeah, I just got this in. It's going to be a little bit more expansive right now. It's just the coil is sitting back there, but I'm going to set it all up so it gets. So I have some more backlight, create some contrast. Otherwise, I just kind of fall into the background here. So yeah, a little bit purple there, Tom. And Wendy is with us this evening. Great to see you, Wendy. One of those wonderful people that had been with us there in Egypt just a couple months ago, back in April, on the Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. So yeah, now without further ado, speaking of Stargates, yeah, we're going to be asking the question, can you be your own Stargate? And okay, short answer, yes, done. Okay, good night. Well, it's a bit more than that, a bit more involved than that. So let's kind of get into this discussion this evening. And kind of first, we'll talk about what actually is a Stargate. Now, I will be covering this in part. I have a couple of different presentations coming up here. I have the Secrets of Real-Time Travel special presentation coming up here July 30th. So you can find the information for that on my website, MikeRicksecker.com, as well as the Connecting the Universe exclusive masterclass, which is the first one's a virtual presentation. The second one is a 4-part public presentation is going to be happening out there in New Jersey. Again, check MikeRicksecker.com for all of those. And we're going to be tackling this question here and a lot of this information during those presentations, but a lot more in depth. So, all right, what is a Stargate? What are these things here? So, well, I mean, quite plainly, so Stargate is a doorway that's designed by an intelligent being. It gives one access to other locations in the cosmos, on Earth, other dimensions, other levels of consciousness, or even other points in time. So we did tackle this during a lot of the time travel material that we've been talking about, or book back here, Travels Through Time, does touch a bit on Stargates as well, because when we go through these gateways, it can take us to many different realms, many different possibilities that are out there, which is why we're asking this question. If you can imagine that you're your own Stargate, where would you go? Would you go to somewhere else in the cosmos, somewhere else here on Earth, to another point in time? And what does that really look like? Well, We have that classic tunnel, classic wormhole, that classic portal. And we've been talking a lot here about portals here in recent weeks. And so then the question becomes, of course, what's the difference between a portal and a Stargate? So, really, a portal is a naturally occurring phenomenon. And even NASA has admitted that we do have these. And we've covered this particular piece of information quite a bit here on portals that naturally occur out in space. They're called X points. We've done deep dives on those before, so I'm not going to get too far into that. But it's basically where the Earth's magnetic shield and the solar wind meet, and you have these portals that are opening and closing that allow the solar wind to enter into the Earth a lot quicker than it normally would. And even though they have all these satellites up there monitoring these things, they can't tell you. There's no predictive model here to tell you when they're going to open, how big they're going to open, how long they're going to stay open for. Yeah, there's no predictive model for it. It's really quite random, which is why a couple of weeks ago when we got into portals out in the wilderness, we were covering the idea that we have these naturally occurring things out in space. They do happen here on Earth, and it's really hard to discern when and where exactly they are going to open and somebody slips through. So Stargate then is really, and I say intelligent being, not human, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a human that creates it. Just somebody with a brain or somebody with that intelligence to be able. So it could be an extraterrestrial, could be an ultra terrestrial, something on another dimensional plane that is creating this to move in and about all of these things that we've been talking about here. So it just takes some sort of intelligence and they create these. So now we have this visual picture in our head from the Stargate movie, television show. So, this sort of device, and they dial up these different chevrons, and depending on which chevrons they dial, then it whisks them off to some other place in the universe. And I always got a kick out of the movie when they sent the probe into the Stargate, and they were able to somehow track this thing, all the way across the universe. It's just using a radio signal. Well, at some point, because it's going light years out there, at some point, it would be taking many years for them to actually receive the signal. So they actually would have lost communication with the probe. But boom, it was like instantaneous to them. So it doesn't really work like that. We still have laws of physics and things like this. So, but it was a fun piece of science fiction. They're not going to look like a big circle device like that. I mean, I say that, but you never know. Somebody could develop one that looks exactly like that. And if you punch it into AI, hey, show me a Stargate. I mean, that's where I got this. I punched this into AI, and it's a lovely photo. You got all these stars back there, and it's kind of your classic sci-fi Stargate. So let's kind of take a brief look at what real Stargates look like, because they look very different across all cultures. And it's really because all of these different cultures had their own type of architecture. They had their own cultural context to this phenomenon that is happening. So, the portal phenomenon naturally occurring. And when we talk about that, naturally occurring, okay, how is that naturally occurring? Well, we talked about it naturally occurring out in space. Well, we're talking really the Earth's magnetism. So the idea that, the Earth has that core of molten metal that is spinning, creating that magnetic field, and depending on what it passes through within the Earth's crust, different metals and minerals, different quantities of those, it creates those different electromagnetic fields. So that's how these things are naturally occurring. Is it's a phenomenon based off of our the Earth's core. So the ancients, they are experiencing this different they're experiencing this phenomenon, and they, over the years, learned how to harness this. And depending on the culture, they came up with different methodologies to be able to do that. So just for example here, Ramumuro. So we had this episode recently here on Ancient Aliens Unlocking the Stargates. Now they've covered this one here extensively on Ancient Aliens in the past. We've covered in brief here as well. It's near Lake Titicaca in Peru. It's known as the Gate of the Gods. It's about 6.5 feet tall. It's a pre-Inca carving into the mountainside. Now, local legends speak of people disappearing through this doorway, as well as seeing strange lights and tall men accompanied by glowing balls of light walking through the doorway. Now, this particular structure, you can see it is like a T-shaped structure that is carved into the mountainside here, and it has that little notch at the back. And remember when we covered Chaco Canyon here a couple of weeks ago? I think I showed the clip on the public side. I don't recall, or maybe I talked about it. Maybe I showed the clip on the after show side. So there's a room there at Chaco Canyon where it has basically that shape, but it's a whole doorway through, and that is not unusual for civilizations that we see throughout Mesoamerica, like the Aztecs. We see it in the Mayan culture and in several others throughout the area. And when you see that design, it is basically depicting a very, very important place that we are going to. So some sort of temple or some sort of special room at Chaco Canyon there. It is like really the only room that has like this special niche that's within it. But some of the others, they are special temple rooms and these sorts of things. So this is automatically signifying this is something special. Now, there is a really interesting legend out of here, very specific legend of when the Spanish explorers came into South America and tried to convert the locals to Christianity. Of course, we know how that ended, and people were basically fleeing for their lives. So the native leader at the time came to Aramumuro, came to the Gate of the Gods here, and he stepped inside with some sort of device that was in his hand, placed it into that notch there at the back of the gate, turned it, and then he was able to walk right through the wall, gone, disappeared, and basically fled the scene. Maybe he was taking that technology with him, was taking some sort of important knowledge, whatever that device was, went with him, and now lost to time. Of course, we didn't want that in the hands of those Spanish conquistadors either. We saw what they did to the Aztecs. So Tom is asking, would you think there is light inside the stargates? So really everything in the universe is based off of light. So I would say yes, there is light within the stargates. What the source of the light is, we can certainly discuss and debate on that. Would they be, like when you look at this graphic here of the wormhole, a lot of those lights are the stars that you are zooming past. So would that light be from those stars? Possibly. Interstellar gases, things like this. Very, very likely. So another classic that we see here, and this is where we're really going to start getting into that idea, can I be a Stargate? Well, we do see physical ones here as well, and that is at Abydos in Egypt. And couple of those down in the chat have been to this very spot. So like Jennifer was there, Wendy was there. For this particular tour here with this picture with Mohammed and I, that would have been the first Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. And this is one of the Stargate rooms right here. We are pointing at the hieroglyphs that actually say the word Stargate. We've kind of covered this here before, but looking at this graphic here, and I realize those listening to the podcast version later, you cannot see these. That's why we invite you to come out here every Wednesday night, connecteduniverseportal.com. So looking from the right and moving toward the left, you have the folded sheet, the star, the foot, and the gate. So the folded sheet and the foot, basically Saba is the word, which means Stargate in ancient Egypt. The star and the gate are the determinatives that basically are telling us this word Saba means Stargate. The cartouche off on the side with everything else is basically the cartouche of Seti I, who was one of 5 pharaohs, 5 kings. The Egyptians didn't call themselves pharaohs. That's a Greek word. But there were 5 kings that basically had this ability of using the Stargate. Seti was one of them, Ramses the second, Tutmosis the third, Hatshepsut, and off the top of my head, I'm forgetting the 5th. But and we see this written in a couple of different ways there at Abydos. So that is a single Stargate, basically designating one of these doorways like this. Then we also have the plural form. So in this one, you see the 3 lines under the gate. It's basically saying this is plural. This is Stargates. And Abydos has several of these. So where Mohammed and I are here, there's 3 of them. And then there's another back room in which there are 2. And I'm standing, this photo here, I really like this photo. We're there at the right time of day to be able to capture this image in which I am literally catching the light through the oculus in the ceiling of the temple. So if you get a chance to go to Abydos, see if you can get there the right time of day to be able to capture that. We had a similar effect at Sekhmet's shrine at Karnak, and a few of the people that were on the tour this past time were able to kind of catch that light a little bit. So near this one, though, there's descriptions on the walls of the use of a white powdered cake. And it kind of looks like this. You see an offering like this. And within the hieroglyphs, they start talking about what exactly this is. And so I have a video clip here, Mohammed describing exactly what this is. Now, for many, many years, it was known as mufkuts, which always threw Mohammed off because he would sit there and say, mufkuts, why are we talking about mufkuts? Because mufkuts actually means turquoise. And what they would do with these white cakes is they would ingest them and go into the Stargates. And so he did some more digging. He did some more research and found out some more information. So let's play this clip.
This is what we call it the mufkut, or what Johnny called it the mufkut. So I started to, as I told you earlier, I never deny any story 100%, even if I am not convinced. But sometimes I don't have time to search and to find the truth. But we were together, me and Johnny, I don't remember when, and suddenly I realized the writings under that word here. So you can see again, this is the symbol called mafka, and this symbol is called shait, hijjat shait, white cake. White cake, and Johnny was talking about white gold, okay? So how you combine between the two stories, white cake and white gold. So, okay, white, we have now similar things. What about cake and gold? They say that they eat the white gold to have these powers like nettles. So it could be white cake. It's only a different way to call it, okay? But, so I agree about the story. I agree with Johnny now 100%, except the name. The Mufkut is still wrong.
Didn't you say Mufkut is turquoise?
Turquoise.
Yeah.
So for sure it's turquoise, but I know why it is called Mufkut now. Because most of the white shahid or the white powder was found in Mufkut land in Sinai.
Okay.
In the turquoise land. That's why it got this name.
So that's where it's from.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Okay, but it is shahid, not wood.
So what should we actually call the white powder cakes?
Shahid.
Shait?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly the right name.
All right. So these white gold powdered cakes, and we're talking monatomic white gold, called Shait from Mufkut's land. So from the turquoise land, the land where they got the turquoise, which is over there in the Sinai area. And we are talking about for the next Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour going over to Sinai. So this would be a tie-in back to the Stargates, is going out there and seeing where they would get these white powder cakes from the turquoise land. And also just recently here, Tutmos III, which again is one of these Stargate kings, they just found an ancient, almost kind of like a summer home of his out there. So you're seeing these tie-ins back to the Stargates into the Sinai area. So we may be visiting that next Stargates tour, which is going to be November 2025. We don't have the exact dates yet or the itinerary. Muhammad and I were just talking about this the other day, and they're going to be getting some stuff up there soon to be able to sign up. So if you want to be in the know on all that, you can sign up for my newsletter. Do that through connecteduniverseportal.com. If you go to mikericksecker.com for it, it's basically just going to kick you back to Connected Universe Portal, because that's where the newsletter comes from. So I see Donna's in the house. Rodrigo Vieira from Portugal is with us. Great to have you with us tonight, Rodrigo. And Scarlett is asking, when crossing a Stargate, do you think it would be the same gate on the other side, or would it be two? So in other words, two different gates, one on either side. And personally, I believe it would be two gates, one on either side. And we do kind of see that, of course, in the Stargate films and in television shows. But we're talking about harnessing portals. So you're going to have portals on either side of it, and something to be able to harness it if you're trying to control when you can walk in this and when it will operate and all those sorts of things. Now, I do believe we would have to take some things into account to be able to control that, like the physicality of it. So different times of year, different star alignments, these sorts of things. If we're harnessing something that's coming from the earth, there's an ebb and a flow to it. That magnetism from the earth kind of pulsates a bit. It's not just a steady stream. So they would take into account, of course, those certain times of years where that energy is most powerful. And so that might come on an equinox or solstice. It might come with a specific alignment to the stars, especially if they're trying to travel to the cosmos. And then, depending on, you might have to do something with, okay, how far are we going? I need a more powerful time of year to get to Sirius, but on other times of the year when it's not as powerful, I can stay here on Earth and, maybe go over to Chichen Itza or something like that. So the idea here was that they would ingest that monatomic white gold and then step into the Stargates. The question here becomes, what would that do to them? So the monatomic white gold has some different special properties, and this is where I start referring people to the work of David Hudson. And I have a clip from David Hudson that I'm going to show during the after show on the Connected Universe Portal. So those that are members of the Connected Universe Portal, we're going to break down a clip from him from a presentation that he gave some years ago. But basically, in the 1980s, he's kind of an inadvertent alchemist. He was just basically working his ranch, working his soil out there, and because he was having problems growing things. And this is was it New Mexico or Arizona? Somewhere in the Southwest. And in trying to figure out how to best work his soil, he inadvertently created the monatomic white gold, which is also known as orbitally rearranged monatomic elements. So you can go out there and find all kinds of stuff on ORME. But I will say this, that there are a lot of outlets out there trying to sell you monatomic white gold, which is not really, the real monatomic white gold. There's a lot of strange characteristics with this, and just like anti-gravity properties. Okay, you put a pan on a scale, you weigh the pan. Okay, we'll say it weighs 2 grams. You put the monatomic white gold powder in it, which should weigh more once you put something in it, right? Well, then all of a sudden it would do things like weigh 1 gram. Well, how do you weigh less by putting something into the pan? Really strange things like that. There are also different ways in which you can make it disappear, and things like this. So it was changing the properties of our known universe. Now imagine ingesting that. So where does it take us? Where do we go? So you're combining astronomical alignments with Earth energy, with these different sacred sites that are built of limestone, which of course have conductive properties, and then you're ingesting this and going into these stargates. So this is going to take us somewhere. Now the question is, and now some may take that, well, we talking like things that are similar to ayahuasca. The Ancient Aliens episode that we just aired went down the route of mushrooms. I'm not an advocate for hallucinogenics, but some people have attempted those things and have seen some really, really strange things. So is that what was happening when they would ingest this and go into the stargates? Well, I'll say it may have taken them into some other states of consciousness, but given all the other properties, I do believe that they could have been going somewhere to another dimension. They could have been going somewhere else in the cosmos. They could have been going to these other realities. All that to me is open. But the question that I have is, do we really need that sort of physical activation? Do we need to ingest something, or do we need to really have that specific energy? You look at Hatshepsut's temple, they have the pyramid there, it's harnessing the earth energy. You have the symbolism of the snake going all the way up the stairs. You have the stargates. You have the bark hall, which is the transportation of the gods, all the way back to the Holy of Holies, where you have this massive cartouche of stars back there. So it's like perfectly set up for a Stargate. Do you really need all that? Or can you do it yourself? Can you be your own Stargate? And I talk a bit about this in Travels Through Time from the point of view of time travel, of willing our consciousness to another point in time. And so this is where we start talking about meditation. So meditation, hypnosis, dreaming, all of these different states could certainly be a form of travel and a way to be your own Stargate. We go places when we dream. We go places when we meditate. We go places when we're under hypnosis. Anybody who has done a past life regression, you're going to another point in time, and you are witnessing this life. So it really is like a form of time travel. So are you then? So what's the catalyst, right? You're just basically using your body in a different state of being to go to that location. So I will Again, in the after show, there's a clip that I'm going to play of that, of where I'm actually in a hypnotic regression. I have a hypnotherapist that kind of describes a little bit of that. It's a clip from the upcoming Shadow Dimension. That I'll go ahead and play, but that's going to be a part of the after show. Again, connectuniverseportal.com. So yeah, we enter into all these different brainwave states, and I have a bit here that I'm going to, and I described this in Travels Through Time when talking about dreams. And it, here's our different brainwave states for really while we sleep. But we can, when we go into meditation, hypnosis, we enter into some of these different brainwave states as well. So, I'm just going to read this off. Scientists have been studying sleep for many years and have discovered that we enter a variety of sleep stages. And during these stages, our brainwave patterns change from a waking beta wave at 14 to 30 hertz all the way down to a 1 to 3 hertz delta wave where deep dreamless sleep occurs and our body is better able to repair itself. In between, we pass through the alpha state at 9 to 13 hertz, where we're more relaxed and calm, and theta at 4 to 8 hertz, which starts at meditation and drifts into the first two levels of sleep. Sleep cycles through the night, and the longer you sleep, the shorter the deep restorative sleep lasts, and the longer each stage 2 light sleep and REM rapid eye movement sleep become. REM sleep is where our most vivid dreams occur and also contains delta waves. But while during the restorative stage 3, less than half the brain's waves consist of these delta waves. During REM sleep, more than half the brain's activity consists of them and can appear in bursts. And regular meditation, again, has been shown to increase alpha waves, so the relaxation brain waves, and reduce beta waves, which are the brain waves of active thought and learning, which is why it's most commonly recommended for reducing stress. So, yeah, the idea that we can consciously put ourselves into these different brainwave states is a way that we can be our own Stargate. Now, would we physically move from where I'm sitting right now and zoom across the cosmos? Well, I don't think that the physical body is going to go with you, but your consciousness would and could absolutely do that. Again, I've talked about this in the time travel, but it's the same principle that we could use for moving across the cosmos. We have talked several times about ETs possibly doing this. Are they traveling interdimensionally? Are they projecting themselves across the cosmos? Well, for throwing out the possibility that an extraterrestrial is doing this, why couldn't we? Okay, they've potentially mastered it. They have potentially figured it out that they could be projecting themselves from across the universe. It would be a lot quicker way to be able to travel than something actual physical like that. And some of these manifestations that we are seeing, some of these, it might be a gray alien, it might be a shadow person, might be something very lucid that we're seeing. We're like, what the heck is that? And that could very well be the result of their projection from wherever they're at. They could be out there at Sirius or Alpha Centauri or something like that. They could be coming from another dimension, and that projection is what we are seeing. It's not the actual full physical body. A couple of comments and questions down here. So Jason Thompson asking, any information on what material would be used to construct a Stargate, like gold or diamond or a blend of sorcery and technology? Yeah, what sorcery is this? So, we see gold used in so many different ways and fashions. We use it for space travel. Here's the thing: it's a conductive metal. It's very malleable. It doesn't corrode. So it is, a really, really versatile metal, that we can use. I would think quartz rather than diamond. We don't really get like that piezoelectric those piezoelectric properties out of diamond. Diamond is very, very hard. You might use diamond in the construction of it in order to cut material, like a diamond tip saw or something like that. But I think it would be more of quartz. And to me, those would be kind of the basis. Now, there might be some other metals that we are not familiar with yet, some other alloys that we could put together to build out this thing. But when we're talking like what we see in ancient Egypt, limestone, quartz, granite has quartz within it. And of course, they had all kinds of gold as well. Mike, the word Stargate can also be found in 2 places at the Ramesseum. Have you checked that out? Yeah, it's the Stargate is all over ancient Egypt. It really is. You just go and look. It's at Karnak, it's at Luxor, Dendera, Abydos. Yeah, it really is all over the place. And when we were there for the first Stargates tour, it really became like a scavenger hunt. And Jennifer just kind of blew everybody away. She won. She kept finding it. She has those keen eyes. So yeah, it's everywhere there. So let's see. Jason asking, is astral projection close to the way one would open a Stargate within themselves? So yeah, that's kind of what we've been talking about, is as an astral projection. Wendy, if I or anyone passed through a portal or Stargate, do you think we would know what happened? Do you think our consciousness remains the same? So I think you would know what happens. I don't believe so. If we're talking more of the consciousness, then I believe your consciousness would definitely be aware of it, but you would remain unchanged in the physical body if you're projecting like that. Now, a physical movement, if you step into a Stargate and it physically moves you across the cosmos, I would think you would still remember that. But there might be some physical repercussions with that, especially depending on whatever's on the other side. What if it's not a habitat that is conducive to the human body? That would certainly be a concern. Now, depending on where you go, there may also be some elements of time loss. So if you're being taken to another dimension, well, time works differently there. In other dimensions, anything above the 4th dimension, 5th, 6th, 7th, and onward, they're outside the scope of time. So what might seem like 5 minutes to you there could be a day, 5 days, something like that here. Just kind of think of the movie Contact for a pop culture reference. When she was in that ball, she fell right through. To them, it was instantaneous, like that. Where with her, it was like a couple hours or something like that. So time is going to work quite differently. Okay. So moving on from that, sort of moving on from that, because this is certainly related. When we talk about people like psychic mediums, I mentioned a little bit ago a hypnotherapist, somebody that is working with metaphysical properties. Are they opening a Stargate within you to be able to do these different things? Is that what happens during a hypnotherapy session? Is a Stargate being opened within you? Are there other times in which you're, like we talked, a dream state in which you are maybe inadvertently opening up a Stargate? I have an example here. This is kind of like really food for thought. It's a story by or an account from Margaret Eastman, who is a research officer at the Psychophysical Research Unit at Oxford. And she served there back during the 1960s. So what she had said was, in the winter of 1959, when I was still an undergraduate, I arranged to go to Cambridge to see the Greek play. A few days beforehand, I dreamed that I was in a very ordinary, dingy suburban room. It was quite unremarkable in every way except for the presence of a white couch. Some people were sitting on the couch, and I was sitting opposite them, talking to them. Suddenly, I stopped talking, or rather, it seemed as if for a few moments I ceased to be aware of the contents of my own mind, though I was still aware of the couch and the room and my presence in the room. Then I started talking again, and my mind seemed to start functioning again, and shortly afterwards, the dream would end. On thinking over the dream when I woke, I found I could not have said what I was talking about. I was aware simply of having thoughts and expressing them, and then of abruptly being locked out of my own mind. In Cambridge, a few days later, I was taken by my companion to visit a friend of his whom I had never met before and who lived in digs which I had not seen before. The sitting room was furnished in nondescript brown and beige, except for the couch, which was white. However, I did not recall my dream till later when I happened to be sitting in an armchair talking to the other two who were opposite me on the couch. The realization that I had already dreamed this suddenly struck me and made me pause in the middle of saying something. I then realized that this pause coincided with my part of the dream in which I had been unable to perceive my thoughts. This knowledge agitated me, but feeling that my silence was becoming embarrassing, I forced myself to continue talking. So, kind of still the same idea that you might be opening that Stargate within you. In this, it's connecting a dream with a real moment that occurred, and really, really interesting how the moment of her stopping talking coincided with that moment of silence from the dream, that awkward moment of silence. So it's almost like her entire consciousness, both within the dream state, basically was a premonition, right? And that moment when it really played out, it just had that connection like that. It's on a whole other level, and really seems to be like a connecting point within these two instances. They were essentially exactly the same. So this is, in essence, a connection back into a point in time. Again, when we talk about time, time doesn't really exist. It's all here. It's all concurrent. And she was able to connect with that within herself. So it didn't take, she wasn't ingesting anything. She wasn't hooked up to a machine. She didn't step into a room like a Stargate room, like we were talking about. She didn't step into a DeLorean, So all of those other physical aspects were completely eliminated here, but yes, she was still able to connect to it. So really some food for thought as far as what we can do with our consciousness, which is why I'm saying that in many of these cases, yeah, it might help us all these other physical means to be able to activate and go through stargates, but we can also do it with our consciousness. We can be our own Stargate. Let's see what else you guys have here. Tom says, I assume that using a Stargate will transport ourselves to the same type of atmosphere we're using now. Well, you never know. That would be a chance you'd have to take. It might be one of those where you need to suit up before you zoom across somewhere else in the cosmos. Rodrigo says, feels like there was a network of Stargates maybe connecting each other and maybe even to other places in the cosmos. Fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and this was a segue, and Jason already brought it up earlier. This was basically a segue into the idea of astral projecting, being able to project our consciousness to other places within the universe and beyond, other dimensions, other points in time, all of that. People do purposefully astral project. I've come close. I've come close. I had no idea what I was doing at the time and almost projected out. But there are very skilled people that know, how to do that, to basically put themselves into a meditative state. And we already talked about the different brainwave states that puts you in. Put yourself into a meditative state and you're able to project outward. And there are many people who do talk about not just walking around here on Earth This kind of like the starting place is, okay, project out of your body, and then you see yourself there. And then people start to venture outward, where move around the house, go outside, visit family and relatives. People have talked about going to other planets while projecting. So, okay, are there places where we can go in order to enhance this? We kind of have touched on this a little bit. The recent show here, we had a segment there on different triangle areas around the world, and yeah, that is a place you could go to those places to help enhance that. Um, we know that the ancients would use locations to enter into altered states of consciousness, to tap into healing powers, all these different things. So, yeah, triangle areas is definitely a place where you could go. I'm actually going to be in Alaska here this weekend. Of course, there are, Ivan T. Sanderson's vile vortices, which does include a couple of the triangles, like the Bermuda Triangle, but also like Easter Islands. What else do we have here? The Hawaiian volcanoes, a lot of different places around the world that in which you could do this. So Sedona, of course, is a classic one here in the American Southwest. Drombeg stone. This is an example, Drombeg stone circle, but really any of the stone circles. The ancients were built those stone circles to tap into the energy of the ground and be able to use it. I use Drombeg as a great example, just because I remember standing in the center of that and just talking, and you could feel that energy. Well, imagine being somebody who knew specifically how to harness it. With all the stones there back in its heyday when it wasn't all weathered down. Absolutely amazing. The pyramids, these were huge constructions harnessing the Earth's power, and many of these were harmonic resonance chambers. You go inside; they have those fantastic corbelled structure with the magnificent harmonics, and so they were using things here to be able to kind of supercharge the area for different purposes, and one of those is certainly to be able to open portals and stargates. There's the great tale of the Stonehenge hippies, which I know a lot of people say is an urban legend, but there's some grain of truth there. And this dates back to late 60s, early 70s, when you could actually still walk up to Stonehenge, you could camp out there, and some young adults were up there doing that. Storm rolled in, and a passing police officer and a local farmer reported that there was this blue lightning that lit up the sky, and all of a sudden you heard this scream, this cry come out from Stonehenge, because that's basically what was lit up. And when they went running over there, these young adults that had been camping out there were gone. It completely disappeared. So did that lightning do something to activate the portal or Stargate there at Stonehenge and whisk them off somewhere? I've talked many, many times here about disappearances, airplanes passing into portals. We talked to portals out in the wilderness, these sorts of things. The Stargate is our ability to be able to harness that and use it for our own will. So, all right. Some last questions here that we'll get to. Sarah is asking, could the presence of Stargates be focal map for remote viewing and astral projection? So remote viewing, like with, they called it Project Stargate, right? Actually, what it was, the government's remote viewing program, there was several different programs over several decades, and when they combined all of the material from those different projects, they encompassed it under a project known as Stargate. So it really wasn't officially called Project Stargate until the early 90s. But what they do, it's coordinate viewing. So they give the remote viewer specific coordinates. They don't tell them anything about what's there. Just tell us what you see at these coordinates. And yeah, it's It's like they're getting on that frequency. It's like they have that tunnel. It really is almost like a Stargate localized here on Earth, across the world to see what's actually there. So it's, I would certainly call that like a type of Stargate, basically utilizing Stargate technology to be able to do that remote viewing. And Rodrigo is asking, is there any publication cataloging all Stargate mentions at these places in Egypt? Well, there at least will be 2 that are coming out. I mean, you can watch all my videos in the different locations in which we've gone throughout the Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. I'm in the middle of writing a book on Stargates, as is Mohammed Ibrahim, our tour guide. So we're both we have enough different material between our books are going to be very, very different. But we're both covering that in our latest pieces of work. So again, sign up for the newsletter. Keep up to date on when that's coming out. ConnectedUniversePortal.com. Scarlett is asking, Mike, if you could cross a Stargate or portal, where would you want to go? Pluto. Pluto. I mean, really, anywhere across the cosmos. Pluto is pretty desolate, cold, and doesn't have any oxygen, so probably would not be a great place to go right now. Maybe if I had life support with me. But almost anywhere across the cosmos. I would want to see another planet. I would want to see another solar system, and I would love to see how things look elsewhere in the universe. Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the public side here. We're going to kick over to the after show for the members of the Connected Universe portal, our time travelers out there. Really do appreciate everybody who's joined us this evening. Those who are listening to the podcast version of this later, please join us every Wednesday evening, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time, ConnectedUniversePortal.com. And a bunch of links down there in the description for many of the things that we discussed this evening. So be sure to check those out. Also, again, the special presentation, the Secrets of Real Time Travel, coming up July 30th, and the masterclass, the Connecting Universe Masterclass, coming up in November in New Jersey. So check out those, because we're going to be doing some deeper dives here within those. So till next time. Time really exists.